All right. So on homework number 4, you're going to use we're going to do the stock market analysis. And the first thing is you're going to need to load your data. Hey, did you get all this part up here? Do you understand that part? Okay. And does your microphone work, or are you okay?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
All right. So then uh in our while loop, we're gonna define this variable here called option. And option is gonna be what the user selects to choose what kind of analysis they want to do. So did you get this part here with the menu?
Yeah. So I can make that box so I can select one of them. And that's the all I did for homework 4.
Okay. So you got the menu part working and everything. And you just need to do the different analysis, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Does your while loop work, or
So yeah, it working. So if I choose another one like without quit, it kept showing that box.
Mhm.
But even though I choose that another best single months or other thing, it didn't work. It
Okay.
didn't show any raw data.
Okay. But if you select on the box here, um, if you select number 5 on the box, then will it exit the program?
Yes.
Okay. So at least you got that part working. Let me
Mhm.
run my code here real quick. And so my all right, so I will the code working. Oh no. My code break. Okay, let's oh, I don't have the data there. That's why. Uh,
Mm.
Let me get my data real quick and then
Okay.
okay, let me run my program now. Okay, so you have the pop-up menu work and everything?
Yeah.
And if you press quit, then it exits your program.
Yeah.
Okay. So have you completed any of these options yet?
So for the first one, the best single month, I
Uh-huh.
saw that you already uploaded something in syllabus, right?
Uh-huh.
So I inserted in my MATLAB and try to do, but that's not working.
Okay. Well, let's take a look at the best single month first. Okay. So you have this part here, if equals option 1.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh, so do I have to do parentheses around the option?
Yes, you do.
Okay. Yeah.
That's important just for the syntax.
Mm,
Okay, so the first thing I do is I say max gain, that's going to equal 0. This is my variable where I'm going to keep track of what the biggest gain was. Okay.
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
max start, that's the variable I'm going to use to keep track of my start. And then max end equals 0. So I'm just going to set these equal to 0 so that I can search my data. Okay. And
Mhm.
then initially, I define this variable first day and I say equal 1. That's going to be the first day of the month, because when I start my program, then I'm just going to start at the very beginning. And then last day is going to equal 0. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So, and I want to define all of those variables before I actually begin my for loop. You don't want to
Mm.
define any variables in the for loop, because then every time it goes through an iteration, it's going to reset it. All right. So here I'm going to make a for loop and I'm going to say from I to length of data -1. Right? And that's because the -1 is really important, because here I'm checking to see where the month ends. And so the last one is going to be I plus 1.
Mm.
Right? And so then if I don't do length of data -1, it's going to give me an error message when I get to the end of my array.
Mhm.
Okay. So
Yeah.
here in the first part, um, what was actually, let me bring up the original problem. Let's look at number 4, because I want to see what it's asking. Okay, so here's number 4. Okay. So the best single month, right? So that's going to be the month with the biggest gain, defined as the difference between the first day and the last day, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So here I say if data of I month is not equal to data of I plus 1 month,
Mhm.
then do this loop. Do you understand this part of the loop right here?
Yeah, but just one question is it like required to set I, not other alphabet like X or Y, something?
Um, so as you step through the for loop,
Mm-hmm.
I increases, and because of my stock market data, let me open my stock market data here. Hey, so my second column is the month, and
Mm-hmm.
then, like, let's say right here, so in my for loop, when I equals 22,
Mm-hmm.
right, then the month equals 10, but
Mm-hmm.
I plus 1 equals 23, and then the month is 11.
Yeah.
And so that tells me at that point, that's where the month changes from October to November. So that's the end of my month.
Ah, yeah.
And so
Okay.
that's how you have to detect when the month ends.
Mm,
Okay. So then
yeah.
if this statement is true, if that is the last day of the month, now I
Mm-hmm.
set last day equal to I, because I found the last day. So this is the index of the last day of the month. And now I say month open, okay, that's equal to data first day, and month close, that equals data of the last day close. Okay, so these are my index values here. And
Mm-hmm.
remember up here, initially, I set first day equal to 1. Okay,
Yeah.
so the first time I go through the loop, this is gonna, this will equal 1. Um, and so now I've got these two values. And so now here I can say my monthly gain is going to equal monthly close divided by month open -1 times 100. And this is my percent. This is the percentage that it changed. Okay.
Mm.
So it either
Yeah.
changed by a negative amount or a positive amount. So if the value of if the economy is doing really great and
Mhm.
the Dow Jones Industrial is higher, then monthly gain is going to be positive. Okay, so
Mm.
then here it says if monthly gain is greater than max gain, and max gain starts off as 0, right? So
Mm.
initially it's going to be 0. Um, if that's true, if monthly gain is greater than max gain, now it says my new max gain is equal to my monthly gain, and my max start is equal to first day,
Mhm.
and max end is equal to the last day. And now here, this part's really important. Now it says first day of the month is equal to I plus 1. And so that
Mm.
that initializes the next month in my data.
Mm. Okay. Yeah.
So now you're ready to start searching the next month, um, and you've updated the value of first day. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's no function that can do all of this stuff that's built into MATLAB. That's when you do all these things, it's up to you to
Mm.
to do this search. And so you have to specify each step of the search that you're going to do, and you need to say, okay, is this month, is the gain greater than last month? And if it is, then okay, now update my largest gain for 1 month. Okay.
Mm. Yeah.
And we also do it in percentages. And
Yeah.
that's really important because back in 1928, I think the Dow Jones Industrial Value had a value of like 240. But nowadays, I think the Dow Jones Industrial Value is like 30,000 or something, right?
Mm.
So we can't just compare those numbers. Um, we have to compare the percentage. And
Mm.
yeah. Okay, so does that help with that one?
Yeah, it really helps me. Thank you.
Okay. What about everybody else? Did everybody else follow how we do part 1 of for homework number 5?
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Thank you.
Okay. Um, let's see. What other parts do you want to look at? Do you want to look at the most consecutive days with gain? Okay, let's look at this one. Okay, so for part 2, okay, if the user clicks on the box and they pick most consecutive days, then I'm going to have this else if statement. So else if option is equal to 2. And then now we're going to go with the second option. Okay. And before I start my for loop, because this one, again, you're going to use a for loop to search all of the data. And the for loop just says, all right, it checks each line of my data. So let's look at our data here. So the first time it goes through the for loop, I equals 1, that's the first line of my data. Then I equals 2, that's the second row of my data. I equals 3, the third row. So it's going to go through and check every single thing in my data. All right. Now I need to, before I start my for loop, because I'm going to make a for loop down here, I need to say, I'm going to define this variable max streak. That's the maximum number of days in a row that the stock market increased in value. Now, do you guys know what the stock market, what does that mean? Like if it increases in value? Well, so let's say um, if it were to go down, let's say Apple comes out with the iPhone 16 and it's the worst cell phone that's ever created. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to sell all my Apple stock. Okay. So there's this run on Apple. Everyone starts selling Apple stock. So the price of Apple stock starts to go way down. And then, so this total aggregate value of all these companies in the Dow Jones Industrial, now, since Apple is worth less as a company, the whole Dow Jones Industrial starts to go down. And so the market like tanks. And there's some way that they calculate, okay, all the values of every company in the Dow that's publicly traded. Then they get this like sum of how much everything is worth. And then that's like, I don't know, 30,000 or something. Okay. All right. So we've got this value here, max streak, and it starts off at 0. And so I'm going to make my for loop, and I'll say, I also need this variable streak. That's going to be the number of days. So number of days the stock market increased in value. Okay. So my for loop, I need to say, I'll start at I equals 1 to the length of my data. And the length of my data, I have, oh geez, I have like, let's see. The length of my data, there's 20,171 rows of my data. So I'm going to check all those. All right, so it'll go from 1 to the length of my data. And then here I say data I of close minus data I of open. Okay, so now I have loaded so I've loaded data into memory. Okay, and I could say here, I could say data, I'll say column number 7, or row number 7, and I'll say close because I have this variable close. Okay, that's going to give me a value of 200 or 241.73. So if I look at my data here, up to the top, here's my data. So it's row number 7, and then the closing value for the day, that's column number 7 for close. So it's 241.73. Okay. So when I put this here, I'm indexing the value. I'm pulling one specific value from my data. And so on the 7th day here, I'm going to subtract the closing value here. That's 241.73 from 239.55. That's my opening value. Okay? And if that value is positive, that means that the value of the Dow increased. Okay, so I say, all right, that equals gain. So if the closing value, if the closing value is higher than the opening value, then there was gain that day. Okay, so I've got gain here, and I say, well, is gain greater than 0? If the closing value is less than my opening value, that means there was a negative gain. The value went down. Okay, so then it's only if gain is positive. If it's above 0, now I say, okay, so that was 1 day of gain. So I'm going to take my streak here, and I'll say streak equals streak plus 1. What does this do to my value of streak? So it just adds 1 to whatever the value of streak was before. So adds 1 to the value of streak. Okay, so every time there's a positive gain, then I say streak is increased by 1. So I say streak equals the old value of streak plus 1. Okay, so it just keeps it keeps increasing. That's if gain is greater than 0. Now, if it wasn't greater than 0, if gain is negative, so if the value of the stock market went down, now I say, okay, else, here's my else statement. Oh, sorry. Okay. Now I check to see if the current streak that I'm on, is greater than my maximum streak. Okay, so checks if streak is greater than max streak. So then it updates that value. It says, if that's true, now my max streak is equal to streak, and end day equals I minus 1. So this was the last day where there was a positive streak. Okay, so it says, all right, if there was negative gain, then the last day of my streak was I minus 1. And then I end it here, and now I set my streak back to 0. Okay. All right. So, all right, questions about this part? Does everybody understand this part so far? Good. Okay. Now here I'm using fprint, okay? And fprint's really nice because it will give me a nice message on the command line. Okay, so I say there were %d, that takes whatever value I have here in max streak, and oh, let's see if I can do this. Okay. Yeah. Let me draw. Okay, so it'll take max streak here, and it will stick it into %d right there, and then it will output a string. It'll output a string to the command window. So now in the command window here, it'll output all this information. Okay. And then how do I erase all this stuff that I'm... All right, so that was part number 2. Is everybody with me? Okay. Then what's the next part here? All right, it says the biggest historical downturn. All right. So after the housing crisis and market crash, the value of the stock market dropped about 50% what it previously was, but this is not the worst such percentage drop in history. Determine the largest such drop, namely a low point that is the smallest percentage when compared to the preceding high points. Okay, so how could we go about solving this one, the biggest historical downturn? What could we do? Because we've already got some useful stuff here. Let's go back here. Let's look at stocks.m. Okay. So stocks.m, the one that you can download online. Okay. Did you guys all download this one? All right, so in stocks.m, in the first part here, it says gain of the day. All right. So if gain of day is, you can use the same thing here, but it says, doesn't it have the biggest loss in this one? I thought it did. Well, there's the largest percentage gain. Maybe it doesn't have it. Okay, that's fine. But instead of, so right here, find the largest percentage gain. What if we wanted to find the biggest loss? How can we change this code that we have in stocks.m? Because you can pretty much just take this code almost exactly how it is and just change like one little thing. What could we change in this one to maybe actually let me make another section here. Okay, so this is just from stocks.m. Okay. And I'm just gonna copy this because you know what? Copying and pasting is great. It can save you a lot of time. So here I made this new section and I'm gonna call this find the largest percentage loss. Yeah. Okay. So now I have largest gain here. You could even probably keep it the same if you wanted to. But what could I change about my code here to tell when I'm losing? Because I've got my variable largest gain here. Maybe I'll call this largest loss. And I'll call this largest loss row. So now I need to update each of these. Okay. And do I want to use gain? Yeah, I can keep gain. Okay. So, and here I'll call this loss of 1 day. Okay. So loss of 1 day. All right. I haven't really changed anything in the code here. I'm just changing the names of everything because yeah, I want it to be more accurate. Largest loss. And I'll call this loss of day. All right. But I still haven't changed anything yet. I'm oh, and I need to replace loss. How could I change this code though? Maybe it's just making it more confusing, but no, it's not. I mean, all I've done so far is just change the names. How can I detect the largest loss? Okay, should I still use the same for loop here? So I've got 4. Should I still use this part? What do you guys think? I mean, I still I'm because I still need to go through all my data, so I'm still going to use a for loop, right? But what about my should I still use this? What if the closing value is less than the opening value? What's the value of loss of day going to be? It will be positive or negative. So
Is it gonna be negative?
yes, it will be negative. So if it's negative, then that means that largest loss, the previous one, will be bigger than loss of day I. So what should I put here instead of this sign? Because right now it says if loss of day is greater than largest loss, that's gonna determine if it went up in value. How can I just need a different operator there. So this right now it says if loss of day I is greater than largest loss, but I actually want it to be, what else could I put? I mean, it's either greater than, less than, or equal to. Well, so what should I put?
Less than?
Yes. Just change it to less than, and now it'll tell you if that was the biggest loss. And so let's run our code here and see what it gives us. I don't. Okay. So I have gain months. Oh, I changed a lot of things. Oh, here, let's change these all. We'll call it loss year. And we'll call it loss month. And then lost day. All right, there's loss month. And I'll call this lost day. I probably missed something here. Lost year. Okay, let's see if all I did was I really just changed this less than symbol. So let's see if this part works. Oh, 147. Okay, it doesn't like largest loss row. Oh, that's because I said I need to change this. Okay, largest loss row. All right, let's check. Oh, largest gain. Did I miss one? Oh, there. Largest loss row. Oh, see, I thought I would be cool and change it, but now I line 152. Oh, okay. Well, at least it shows me where all my errors are. That's nice. All right. There we go. Okay. So it says the biggest loss year was 1987, October 19. And let's check and see what happened on that day. Where's Safari? Okay. I'll just put this in. I'll say, 1987, October 19. It happened on October. Oh, Black Monday. Oh, that was bad. Oh, it worked. Black Monday was a global, severe, largely unexpected stock market crash in 1987. Worldwide losses were estimated at $1.71 trillion. Whoa, that was a bummer. Okay, so it works. All right, I found. But it didn't work here because I said the largest relative gain. I want to change that in my output here. So I want to change this. I'll say the largest relative loss. There we go. I'll run this part again. Say run that section. Ah, there we go. The largest relative loss was minus 0.20. So it lost 20%. And that was October 10, 1987. Okay. So that we just took it from stocks.m and we changed that 1% sign. All right. So, all right, I think we basically did pretty much everything in that problem. So there's just one last problem, but I think it's not due till Friday. So maybe try and do that last one and see if you can get it. And if not, then maybe we can talk a little bit about it in class. Okay. So are there any questions about homework number 4? I think we talked about most of it, but that's okay. Any other questions? All right. And I think I am recording this. So I'm going to make a Zoom. Oh yeah, I am recording it. Okay, good. Now I'm going to put this on YouTube also, and it should have recorded everything on my screen, hopefully. So I'll put that on YouTube and then I'll send out a link. And maybe I'll do that. All right. So
Thank you.
yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. All right. If anybody has any questions, you want to stick around, I can answer questions for a few more minutes, but if not, I will see you guys in class tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, like and subscribe down below.